enjoying ourselves, and this is what happened. So I think it kept me maintaining and staying on those drugs because of exactly what you said. Probably now when I think about it, it's because all my life I'd kind of seen myself as a failure.
So what I'm hearing from both of you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, right, is there are things that would make it quite vulnerable for that person to begin that relationship with drugs or alcohol. And you talked about being the golden child, right? And you talked about being perceived as a failure. How much do you think those notions played a role in contributing to that connection with alcohol?
Huge. Well, for me, because what happened was I was the person where I would party the hardest. Everyone would know me for it. So it would give me a sense of like significance. People would love me for that. And for that, for the first time, I didn't feel like I was a failure. And I felt so good. And it was also because we got denied so badly of just being able to enjoy ourselves that we became obsessed with the...
I'm hearing sense of belonging.
Yep.
Not perhaps getting that because being perceived as failure.
Yeah.
And I'm also hearing a strictness in how you've been brought up.
Oh, yep.
Would that be right?
Yep. So I can elaborate a little bit more on that. So our family dynamic, so we have one parent who's very authoritarian, very determined, ambitious, you can say old school or traditional. And again, it's not black and white, but so we had one very, very strict parent and one not so strict parent who kind of believed in us a lot, and both of those actually played into the whole story. So because the family dynamic was very, very fractured, and my parents could never ever find any kind of united front, that actually exacerbated our problem because we could actually go manipulate that situation to our own advantage. Okay, that happened, but for in my story, at the age of 24, if you're asking about underlying problems, there were so many. So I had no identity. Okay, I had a fractured identity that was holding up with my mum, fractured identity with dad, one at church, one at university, one for these people, one for my brother. No identity. So completely broken up, completely splintered on the inside, and then no real purpose, no kind of drive or passion for life. I was just kind of floating. I was just like a cocktail that was just floating. And when drugs and like almost like a volatile cocktail that was like floating, and then all that had to happen was drugs had to come in, and drugs, and then boom, it just an explosion happened. And that's why I went from who I was on the outside, at least, went from that completely 180 to the opposite side, living like a bum, in my car and things like that.
So the drugs gave a sense of worthiness or a facade.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of feeling pretty good,
feeling
valued, sense of belonging, sense of identity, and had a good time.
I could escape from the world and just imagine, that I was the productive, high achiever that I always wanted to be, or that society kind of expected me to be while I was on this thing, because I'd go do like little things around the house, you know what I mean? Like, or we would have really dramatic and deep and like meaningful conversations, and that just substituted the actual action that I was actually taking. So I wasn't moving the needle forward in my life at all, like from a like
progression.
Yeah, from a progression standpoint at all. I was just talking about and dreaming and just fantasizing and escaping from the drama of real life, I guess.
Yeah.